All right, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about some of the crisis that we appear to be having in the nation. Now, I want to be clear about one thing from the beginning of this video. It will be specifically in relation to those that are trying to utilize vouchers and get homes or rent homes for low income housing. This is not a general market video for those of you that are just working and renting or trying to purchase. Again, this is about Section 8 and low income housing. So one of the things that doesn't surprise me at this point is that we have reached that threshold where it's a boiling point. And California represents a very good picture of that. To build a single low income house or unit at this point has reached $1 million. So when you go into Google and you type in affordable income housing, and you come up with results like HUD saying, "Oh, we've given out $6 million to such and such housing authority for low income housing," it means nothing anymore. It's just shaking a few copper pennies out of your pocket, and it's not really going to fix anyway. Um, Looking at the market now, if we're sustaining $1 million for a single little unit in California, it's not just California. Let's be very clear. Houston, Texas, where I live, across the state of Texas, property in low income housing has gone nuts. For those of you that have considered tiny homes, trailers, mobile homes, and the many names it goes by, same thing. Inflation is a real big issue with the inclusion of the market when you look at the housing, low income housing, and affordable, and even those purchasing a home. So now, even the smallest things, because of the inflation and the cost of materials and the shipping problems we're having around the nation, has turned things into a crisis where it has absolutely, met that boiling point I've talked about. Federal dollars are just simply not worth anything at this point. When you're issuing 5 and 10 million to a housing authority, you're just talking about a handful of vouchers and the possibility of building a few properties here and there. Those of you that had watched some earlier videos from the prior 2 years about the plan to create universal housing vouchers to assist people with low income housing, because of the pandemic and other issues. So that's all gone. We spent all that money and it really didn't do much. Last year our company got hammered very hard by clients looking for housing and vouchers. And one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of that's evaporated in the market. June is proven to be the most difficult month, outside the inclusion of it being summer, housing bubble, a pandemic, inflation, a war, and everything else in combination right now. We're in a pretty dire situation across the board. I'm not just speaking in speculatively about those that are market rate with a job, but also those that are seeking vouchers and housing that way. Um, so, where do I see this going? I see that a lot of things are going to play out this year. Now, before we go any further in the video, I'm going to make a few introductions. I am the owner of Section8Consulting.com. Many know me around the nation widely as a very popular or very good consultant for those of you that are trying to get vouchers and housing and so on in an ethical and reasonable manner. I work with 700 to upwards of 1,000 clients a year. And in fact, one of the things that our company did this year to address some of the costs and inflation, because we all know that inflation is affecting everything. I mean, it's in certain states like California, inflation is riding at 9%. That's insane. Even though we also looking at the presidential decree to lower federal federal taxes on gas, which may or may not pass. But so, anyways, to address the well, I just drew a good blank, didn't I? So, to address inflation, at least for those that are dealing with their company that are tired of struggling with housing, getting vouchers, and so on, we have marked down all of our services by 40%. Anybody that's probably visited our website or either our YouTube channel with more than 600 videos have seen a marketable difference. we had the option to continue to go higher and higher in pricing, but I decided that I think that housing is an important issue, and people really need the break, and so we decided to do that. So I'm going to put up some information real quick about that for those of you that are really struggling out there and just can't seem to figure it out on your own. Bear with me just a moment. I'm going to copy a few links in here, and I'm going to copy it in live chat to help you guys out. So if you're struggling with housing, you want to deal with somebody that's expert in the area that's had hundreds of cases, if not 1,000 a year, dealing with all 50 states and hundreds, if not thousands of housing authorities. There's very little I don't know about the system. Policy, procedure, Title 24, ADA laws, you go across the board. There's virtually nothing I don't know about it. And I also have a very, very strong background with landlords. We probably had over 1,000 landlords at this point, with an estimated property values reaching hundreds of millions. Doesn't mean I own them; it means they own them, and we work with them for to deal with renters that are looking for assistance. So, always a good thing. Good morning, Sloth Mar. Shout out from Atlanta. I love Atlanta, Georgia. At one point in my life, I think I lived near Stone Mountain. So and also I visited Augusta, Georgia, which is beautiful up there. For those of you that have been to Georgia. Good morning, Trend Traders commenting. Hi, like the button, folks. Let's help the channel. Appreciate that, Trend Trader. You're always here to help boost things up. One of the interesting things about it, being a guy like myself and spending 10 years on YouTube making all these videos, Section 8 housing and vouchers is not only a political issue and a divide, but it's also something that's a tough topic. Videos will never receive millions of views because it's not an interesting topic. And it's not something people actively search for unless they're really in dire straits. So I think we managed to survive that. I watch a lot of people jump into these type of videos. They only last about a year. Then they move on to other things that make them more money. One of the other interesting things is, if I was 12 and willing to spray paint my hair purple and set it on fire and then ride my bicycle off a roof, I would probably already be independently wealthy just from the ad revenue in YouTube. This is a very thankless job. I still do it. I still have my concerns. I still worry about seniors, the elderly, and the disabled. And I continue to make videos despite it actually being the worst topic I could probably ever make a video about. But it's okay. I enjoy what I do immensely, and I like working with clients and helping them win housing in a very tough, and also sometimes even very rigged market. Chris commented, good morning from California. How are you guys doing out in Cali? It's a love-hate relationship with California. It's so tough in Orange and LA and the Bay Area. And at one point, I spent 8 months out in San Francisco. I did enjoy that market. There's nothing like having to pay, $8 for a gallon of milk. That was a long time ago, So you never know about old Cali. So yeah, New York and California do represent about 60% of my clients. And it's rather interesting. So, all right, let's move back to the affordable housing crisis. So, I think a lot of the states right now are just struggling at this point. We dumped a bunch of federal dollars into this, bipartisanship and so on, and unfortunately, the money is now only worth a tenth of what it was offered at the time. So, I think a lot of projects won't even be able to get built at this point, and all the big jazz about we're going to spend trillions of dollars building affordable housing. Well, I think that's out the window. When a 2x4 costs $20, $50, or $100, and you can't pay for the cost of labor, you can't pay the cost to ship the stuff, can't pay for the cost to build these homes, and so $1 million is a worthless point anymore, and so it's actually creating a new problem. We talk about inflation, we talk about having a market where people are trying to sell things at a phenomenal rate. So now we've got into a piranha situation. It's like a pond full of piranhas. Everybody knows they can get more. Now we've actually artificially driven inflation because of greed. Too many people, too many investors buying too much shit. Now there's not enough houses on the market. What's left drives up the prices. Then the people that actually have a home or two homes now think, okay, well, now's the time to cash in and jack the rent 50%. And so the problem now is perpetuating itself, and it's reached a boiling point. Will collapse. There's no other choice. They went into this earlier saying, oh, this is not 2007. Yeah, well, 2007 was for a different reason, but this is a housing market where you have a bubble, and it's boiled to a point that it's bursting, and so the repercussions are rather serious because what goes up must come down. So this market will collapse, and when it does, it's going to wipe out a whole lot of fucking people, man. And it started with greed at the government level, but now it's driven really actually by the retail market. All that greed, everybody, oh, well, the prices are high. Why don't I jack mine a little more? It's everything. I can't even think about this. I went online to buy a camera. They bought them all. So now everybody's using algorithms to buy everything. And they buy it from Walmart and Amazon. And now they ride the price really high. Same thing, the same level of greed's playing out with housing. Just buying it all up just to do it. So we have all these homes that have been bought. Nobody's living in them. Just sitting there, and they're just testing to see how much people will actually pay. That's what inflation really is. It's a test of the market to see how high you can drive something. Same thing with the cryptocurrencies in the market. It's a fool's game. You know what a fool's game is? A fool's game is when you invest in something, and it becomes only a good investment until you have another idiot willing to pay more. That's all it is. And then you go into a cycle of deflation. Michelle Jackson, good morning. How are you? What about CT for housing? So Connecticut, I would put on a scale of 1 to 100 is probably in the 30 to 40% ratio of being the difficulty level. So it's not too bad. Michelle Brown, good morning. How are you? I see you commented. I could not have done it without you. Well, I appreciate you saying that. We'd also like to say, beautiful Brown, I think that a lot of you do carry the skills to help yourself, and not drowned. Some of you are so close to being able to handle your own cases that you're on the verge. I'm there to bridge the gap for those that are struggling with mental health, physical health, those that may not have the intuitiveness to be able to research things to a defining point. You got to remember, guys, I've been doing 21 years. In other words, this is second thought to me helping clients with housing and getting vouchers in one of the most shitty markets ever. Look, this is the worst time in history probably for my company to exist. So you'd think, oh, this is a big money maker. This guy's probably dragging in bags of money. No, I'm not. In fact, again, we dropped our company prices 40% to help the deflation. But also, let's think about this. My job is 20 times harder than it was 3 years ago. And it just keeps getting more horrifying. Because not only people want the same thing they wanted 3 years ago, but they want it in a market that's so ridiculous that it's crazy. Look at all the aspects. Let's line them up just one more time. A housing shortage, literally not enough houses out there to be bought. And then what's left is at an unreasonable, greedy price. We have interest rates that are absurd. Interest rates from the feds at 5 and 6%. Who's going to buy a house now at a high interest rate that can potentially add another $150,000 to $200,000 on a home? You see my point? Then you take that, and maybe in 3 years when the market deflates, they're stuck with a home that even if they bought, paid for, or pay on a mortgage in a decade, they've not made any money. Why? Because they bought it too high. In other words, it would take them 20 years before they would see a return on investment. It's just a bad fucking deal all around. Then you talk about after interest rates, we have inflation, sense of greed. So we have a shortage, which creates inflation, and a shortage of products because everybody buys it up, and then everybody's turned into a flipper now. Let's flip everything. Let's take a bag of Skittles. We know that they can't produce them quick enough. Let's buy every fucking bag at every Walmart, and let's drive up the cost, then sell the shit on eBay. You can't even buy anything normal anymore. It drives me wild, man. I was telling you about a camera, a simple fucking camera for me to be able to take pictures for the YouTube channel. Now they've bought every damn one. They've also bought it in every model. So then you've got to scour all the scumbags on eBay and Amazon just to get it. And you're going to have to give them a crispy $500 extra because everything's a fucking hustle now. So I'm at my wit's end with this. Even as a company owner that helps people, the inflation is now affecting every element of business, seriously, an absurd point. All right, I'm gonna take a few more comments because I feel like I'm gonna go off the deep end on the video. But I mean, hell, I'm as affected as anybody else. All right, back on Trina Daniels. Good morning. How are you? I'm about to be homeless, she says. And again, since we can't find a home, the problem is no one wants to rent to you if you have a HUD voucher. That is quite possibly one of the biggest factors that's additionally playing out. So a lot of my clients call me, hey, Jay, want to get a voucher, want to get housing. I've tried it, can't get it. Can you help me? Yeah, I can. But here's the caveat of that is when my company steps in, I always tell people it's hell on wheels. Don't ever go into this and with me as a company and think, okay, well, I won the voucher, celebrate, get a bottle of champagne, wake up the next day, you passed out on a carpet face down, right? Won that voucher, hardest shit you ever did. Then you wake up to a second realization. Now you got to get on the phone and call 4,000 places to use the voucher. Not because we're discriminatory, not because it's a race issue, not because it's an age issue. It's because the vouchers that are being issued are being issued on the value of what they might have been worth 3 years ago. But because of inflation, that voucher doesn't cover shit. It's nothing but a coupon. So there's this tedious process that I and also my company has to do where we're having to look at multiple states and hundreds of counties to find and identify specific housing authorities that'll give you a voucher in a market where all the housing hasn't been used up. And so you see what the problem is right there. If you go in, like I warn clients, I want portability. I'm going to move my voucher I've won, and I'm going to move that voucher from the state of California, and I'm going to move it to Nevada. The problem the client didn't check out was the fact that the voucher's worthless there, not because of the value of the voucher, because there's nothing to rent. Or the other scenarios mentioned in the prior comment. You win the voucher, right? And then what's the problem after that? Well, unfortunately, your $1,000 voucher isn't going to even cover the rent. So your rent reasonableness and the landlord's ability to raise rent happens quicker than you can adjust to it. And so the landlord doesn't want a voucher where they can't continue to raise the rent. Sense of greed. I have to get on landlords' asses about that. There's a certain point where it becomes absurd. Now landlords are raising the rent because one of the bigger issues that I'm seeing play out is they now, or most of them didn't know this the last couple of years or the past decade. Now they're keenly aware, and now they're raising it not because their mortgage is higher. They're raising it just because they can, which forces the client to return back to the housing authority. Excuse me, you just gave me a coupon that's worthless. It's $300 short. How the hell do you expect me to use this? The amount that's owed is more than the amount I received. In other words, more than the income they can afford to pay on the third. Inflation. Moving back to comments here. Rachel Ray Rich. Good morning. How are you? I have a problem with discrimination. I don't want to go through all that because of my father. I am homeless, but it's affecting him the most. He has a severe speech impediment. Please help us. Well, Rachel, I would say just try to reach out to me. I don't publicly post my phone number and email in YouTube because of scams and Russia, China, and they will steal that information and then spam the hell out of the channel. So I'm just going to give you some links, and if you just look around just for a few minutes, you'll be able to quickly identify our company's phone number and email. But I won't publish it in here, not in a live chat. All right, moving on from that. Shook Shields. Good morning. How are you? I'm on public housing. I'm on a waiting list for Section 8. How can I get a Section 8 voucher? That is probably one of the most popular topics that's ever been delivered across the internet. How do I get a voucher? Well, Shook, I think that would be probably a 15-hour conversation to cover 1% of what I could tell you. Shook, I would advise reaching out to our company so we can talk to you a little bit and see, because that question's too bold. That'd be like asking, what is a human? And you'd have this really long conversation. So, Shook, that's not something that I can address easily in this channel. Again, I'd say just reach out to us and we can try to kind of narrow it down to more specific details. Trina Daniels, I have a voucher, but have 4 people in my house. Whole house is disabled. I have one on a vent in Lufkin. Housing will not help. Okay. Well, one of the factors and realities we must all face with this is the housing authority has one job. It's to determine whether or not you get a voucher. They're not going to help you. They're not going to teach you policy and procedure. They're not going to do anything, really. Most of them won't even answer the phone. If you're looking for answers from HUD in D.C. or one of the regional offices, they'll give you about 3 minutes of time to talk to you, and that's about it. Good luck. You call the housing authority in on the off event, Sally at the phone operator, and she actually goes, "Oh shit, I answered the phone." And you may find that people at the housing authority are rude, condescending, and say things that really light your ass on fire. But that's the method of the housing authority, and that's the experience most people have. You only have one other option out there, and that's calling 211 and 311. And those people don't know anything. They have no professional degree or education. Their job is to connect you to a phone number, which may or may not work. All right? Those are your free options. If you don't do that, then the other thing is you travel around and you look through Google until your eyes fall out and see if you can find something that can help you, or you deal with a consultant. I don't know what else to tell you guys about that. Trina Daniels, I'm going port out, and that's how I need help at homelessness. I understood porting. Well, porting is an option to get you to a different city, but you're also going to want to look at the FMRs, fair market rents for the area, to make sure there's housing available. There's so many things you need to consider before you port. What you end up doing is porting over there, and there's nothing to rent, and then you lose your voucher. So portability is a serious issue. It's not the most complex issue, but I would say it's a serious issue. And if you don't watch what you're doing, you can end up with all your shit in a hotel, all right, with no voucher. So you really have to look into that. Beautiful Brown, good morning again. I had to get rude and hang up. You know what? What I've always said about housing authorities, they'll dish as much shit as you're willing to take. And so that's the thing about them. Now, don't get me wrong. There are housing authorities that act in a professional manner and don't speak to people like they're a $2 trickle on 4th Street, you know. But a lot of housing authority and the people that answer those phones will really make you angry, okay? And so you understand their job is to do their job and not to teach you anything. You know, you walk in the front door, you get a pamphlet. That's the expectation. If you're looking for concise information that's going to shave light years off your weight and to get you housed, you're never really going to get that from a housing authority. They'll happily put you in the projects where everybody's shooting each other. You got Sally smoking crack in unit number 3. You got Bob that's neurotic at the pool and all the other crazy shit. I just got a call today from a client. Oh man, they put me in PSH, some permanent supportive housing, monster unit, and everybody's going ape shit. First thing he tells me on the phone, hey man, the lady next door put her fist all the way through her wall, through my wall, and then he could see her eyeball through the wall. So that does not include the fact that that woman was on meth. Her eyeball is looking through the wall. I deal with all kinds of clients and all kinds of crazy. So we'll call her Sally Eye Popper. She wants in case she gets strung out and knocks a hole through the wall that she can look into your unit. That's just one of the many issues that crazy things that happen when I deal with clients. Beautiful Brown goes on to say, everything you say is true. Well, not everything. Sometimes I won't say some of the things that are not untrue. I'll just say that sometimes I actually exaggerate certain issues to make them funny. Now, if you're too simple and you don't see that I'm trying to make humor of a situation, then you probably have a problem with your own. But yeah, you're right. A lot of the things I do try to talk. Some of the things I talk about are from experience, and others that are formal. Okay. Trina Daniels, I just need you. Well, hell's bells. A lot of people need me, and I need a lot of people too. But you're probably considering my assistance with housing, so I do understand that. Beautiful Brown says, wow, that is wild. Yeah, of course it's wild. Of course it's wild. That's one of the many stories I could probably tell you guys about clients and craziness. So you know, to pack all this together and then get closer to the end of this video, I'm going to say this. The housing situation is not going to change this year. It's probably going to get a lot worse as we approach Christmas. Um, the housing authority, the number of vouchers that are available are now getting down in the ratio. What I would say, and this is personal and professional opinion, probably going to reach a ratio of around 10%. Okay, which means it's going to get super crazy. Trying to get housing and get vouchers and find places to go. If you guys are not considering other states and other counties, you're going to have to. There's no other choice. Otherwise, you're going to sit under the 3rd Street Bridge and cry yourself to sleep every night, because what I'm telling you, the housing authority doesn't have anything to give. You're going to wait till they do, and that's a bad idea. There are secondary tiers of people that are facing imminent homelessness right now that can't find affordable housing or have one of those. One of the curious things that I see, why are housing authority issuing vouchers when they know damn well people can't even use the damn things? They're worthless, right? They're toilet paper. Well, that's because they can meet their numbers. Oh, yeah, we're doing such a good job over here at such and such housing authority. We're handing these things out like candy that nobody wants. You see my point? That way, at the end of the year, when they go ahead and get audited, they can say, oh, yeah, you know what? We're so successful at our job. We're giving out thousands of vouchers. But what they're not telling you is those vouchers aren't worth anything and nobody wants them. You might as well be walking around with a giant wasp asking people, do you want a sting? So it's crazy. And that's the market we face right now. Whether you're low income or looking for affordable housing, or you're trying to buy a home and just live, it's an absolute insane market. So, look, I've enjoyed talking with you guys today. I've enjoyed rambling and going in between topics as I usually do. But a crisis is a crisis, and we're going to be forced to ride this out until 2023. That is the reality. I think that part of the collapse of the market will likely start happening at the year's end, but I expect the biggest fallout to happen between January and March of next year. Until then, we're going to ride this shitty wave all the way to the top until inflation actually creates a federal level problem, which it has, and the president will have to react. So we're not done. We're just getting cranked up. It's like anything else in this nation. Once a level of greed is kicked in, now we're all out here basically buying up products in order to sell them back to other people at a profit. And we've done capitalism so well now that we're actually price gouging each other. We're flipping shit to a point where it's no longer you can buy anything fairly. And so the inflation will ride till it bursts. So if we ever had an inflation bubble, well, that's what we're going to watch happen when Christmas hits. When you can't even buy a 99 pair of socks, 99-cent socks end up costing you $100. So we're going to ride that bubble until we ruin everybody. And that's likely what's going to happen is the big fallout. And I expect that for the holidays when nothing's available. And how does that affect your housing? Well, it's very simple. When one thing goes up, so does the other. When there's a shortage for this, it creates inflation for that. When you have a housing bubble, it also creates an inflation, and it also causes high interest rates, and all those combinating factors equal only those who have money will be able to afford to be housed. So that is the reality. All right, guys, I've enjoyed talking with you. All have a great day. Bye-bye.